What up, Viking fans? And thank you for tuning in to the Skol State of Mind podcast. Before I start this video, I want to give a shout out to everybody out there that's been following me on social media, that's been in the comments, in the tweets, in the mentions. That really helps this channel grow and it's much appreciated. But if you haven't, and it's your first time seeing this video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell is much appreciated. But with that being said, let's dive into this video. Our Minnesota Vikings are facing off against the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday. It's kind of a good thing that this isn't a primetime game. I mean, it's kind of weird to me. The Vikings started off the season on Monday night football and then the next week on Sunday night football. So it's kind of cool that we can get like a regular scheduled game, especially with everything going on surrounding this team. So let's dive into it. Now, here's how I'm opening this video. All right. So there's a lot of talk, social media, talking heads, ESPN, however you want to call it. But I just want to give you about my opinion again on how I feel about Kevin O'Connell. And I'm gonna open it like this though, right? I'm really frustrated in the Kevin O'Connell situation. And I'm gonna keep repeating myself over and over again until a lot of people like actually get it. Kevin O'Connell was brought in here to find, develop, and nurture a young quarterback into a franchise quarterback. He wasn't brought in here to fix old veteran quarterbacks. Now, I do understand that the opportunities presents itself. You know, 2023, Kirk Cousins gets hurt. Multiple quarterbacks, and Kevin O'Connell kind of masked the situation for Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, and other guys to actually play well for a certain extent. We had Sam Darnold last year. He played well in absence of JJ McCarthy because he was lost for the season with the torn meniscus. But if you go back to when Kevin O'Connell was interviewing for the head coaching job, it was all the talk about him being a offensive savant, him being a quarterback guru. Now, in my opinion, I really feel like we haven't seen the quarterback guru aspect of it. I just basically think he's been able to prop up veteran quarterbacks to look good in certain spaces. But when the lights are the brightest, those quarterbacks basically revert to who they really are, i.e., Kirk Cousins in the playoffs and Sam Darnold in the playoffs both ended in the same fashion with no playoff wins. So that's why it was so important for Kevin O'Connell to come into this team to find a young quarterback that he believed in, that he believed that can come to this team, he can nurture, he can develop, and that can basically run this offense. And I understand we are only in the third week of the season. JJ McCarthy is already hurt, but that offense has not looked good under JJ McCarthy for the past two games. And us as Viking fans have to really be honest. And I think now is the time that we start to hold Kevin O'Connell with some form of accountability. I think it's time. So that's how I'm gonna open it up. But let's get into it a little bit more. And this is how I look at it too. There's a there's a split within this fan base. And this is what I mean by this split on this fan base, right? You got some fans who don't really care about the development of a young quarterback and the development of players in general. They just want to win games. They just want to have pop-up seasons here and there and just win games and be happy. And I get that. But then there's a other faction of the fans that are split, like myself, who understands that even though it takes longer and it might not, feel as good during the bad times when players are struggling, but if you can develop a team into a contender, I feel like it won't be a pop-up season. You can basically ride that wave for a couple of years. Just look at how some teams have done it. The Buffalo Bills, for example, They took their lumps with Josh Allen in the beginning, and now he's developing to the NFL League MVP of last year. Now they have a contender every year, basically until it's time for him to retire or injury set in, or other teams actually get better. But look at us in our situation. We basically been going through veteran quarterbacks to help get us to the promised land, and it hasn't worked. And that's why it goes back to my other point with Kevin O'Connell by saying he wasn't brought in here to fix old veterans. Like, you have to take the lumps and you have to take the time to develop a quarterback. It might not look good in the beginning, but if that quarterback can be a top 10 quarterback in this league, it's priceless. That's going to put your team in position to always be in the playoffs. And that's why I'm leaning the way of, hey, if McCarthy sucks right now, let's just get it out of his system. And we'll know, maybe sometime next year if McCarthy if McCarthy gets back on the field and plays, and maybe he can play through his struggles. Most quarterbacks do, but it's just kind of weird that some people within this fan base are already dismissing JJ McCarthy as a bust and just want to see what they can get from Carson Wentz. It's just real crazy to me because I remember when Sam Darnold was signed to this team, and the media and the fan base was basically like, Sam Darnold's a bust. We don't need him. I don't understand why they took a flyer on him, blah, blah, blah. And then Sam Darnold goes out there and wins 14 games. Even though I wouldn't call that season a success, it was a great season. But that shows you why it's important to develop a quarterback so you can stack those seasons up where, hey, you got 14 wins this season, you made the playoffs, you get a win this year, and you come back the next year, maybe you go further. But if you keep starting back from base one, you're never going to go anywhere as a franchise. And there's one thing too I want to dive into, with the fan base split. I want to call it how it is, and I'm just tired of hearing it. I think a lot of people out there calling Kevin O'Connell this quarterback whisperer and Kevin O'Connell quarterback school. I'm not going to dive into it too much because this video is solely supposed to be about, the Bengals preview with the Vikings. But can we stop the Kevin O'Connell quarterback school? Because if I ask you guys a question right now, who has Kevin O'Connell developed? It's going to take you a long time because he's currently in development stages with McCarthy. This is his first experiment. This is his first rodeo in developing a quarterback. I'm not talking about propping somebody up to win it through games. We're talking about developing a quarterback for the long run. So I think we need to start changing that narrative and just call it like it is. So let's keep it moving because this video, it really ain't just based on the Kevin O'Connell video, but I just felt it was the best thing for me to do to start this video to give you guys, an accurate opinion on how I really been feeling. And I'm gonna go back to it again. This isn't like a true indictment on Kevin O'Connell. I don't want him to be fired because at the end of the day, I do believe that he can be a great coach in the league. He's just going to have to change the way he does things. He's gonna have to change his play calling. He's gonna have to figure it out. But it's just weird to where I can say these kind of things, in certain groups and certain chats, and some people get offended, like I'm asking for the man to be fired. And that's the thing about this fan base. It's kind of weird to me because it's like we can critique everybody else, we can blame everybody else, but as soon as the blame starts to go on Kevin O'Connell and it's time to hold him accountable, I feel like some of the fan base can't even handle it. But let's keep it moving. Let's to the injury report. All right. So, yeah, this injury report is deep. So I'm gonna go down to it because it's Thursday night. I'll be dropping this video early Friday morning before practice. So let's get into it. Now, Christian Darrisaw did not practice on Thursday. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys this is basically him having a veteran day of rest. So let's see what he does Friday to kind of figure out if he's going to play or not. Excuse me. My opinion, I don't think he should play his first game against Trey Hendrickson. Like, I think that's just kind of ass backwards. Um, People can, you can say like, well, he's going to go against one of the best, but he ain't played no real football in over a season. So we don't need him to go out there and stress himself against Trey Henderson. Now, you got Jonathan Grenard from oblique. It looks good. Looks like he's going to play. As you can see from Wednesday, it was limited all the way to full on Thursday. So if we get another full on Friday, he's going to play. Donovan Jackson with a risk. It just looks limited. I mean, from a lineman point of view, risk might be important when you got to, push some other guys around. But just like everybody else, let's see what happens on Friday. Theo Jackson with a hip, limited. He'll probably play. Ryan Kelly. Now, this is something we have to pause on real quick. Ryan Kelly has a concussion. And word on the street is this is his fourth concussion in the past couple of years. And you know how the league feel about concussions. You feel me? Like the league don't play about concussions. So I think Ryan Kelly gonna be on this injury report for a couple of weeks before he's allowed to actually come back, which is unfortunate because now, we got to go up with the backup center. But hey, it is what it is, man. That's why you got to build your team deep because you never know what's going to happen. Austin Keys, growing, limited. We ain't really worried about that one. JJ McCarthy. All right. JJ McCarthy got the ankle injury, did not practice on Wednesday and on Thursday. They say he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. My opinion, I think it's going to be out 2 weeks. I think you want to see how he responds in 2 weeks to get some, real game time reps before the bye, just in case that ankle swell up a little bit. And we play against the Philadelphia Eagles right after the bye. So if you have anything for him to play against the Eagle game, then I think you should get him ready beforehand. You don't want no hiccups that week. But to talk about McCarthy, the question is being asked too, around, the social sphere is since McCarthy's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks, and if hopefully Carson Wentz goes out there and balls out, and this team is basically like 4-1 or whatever, and the team's rolling, the offense is looking good, and people ask me like, who do you go to at that point when McCarthy's healthy? Do you keep McCarthy on the bench just because Wentz is playing good, or do you, go back to McCarthy? And here's my answer to this question. You go back to McCarthy. I don't give a shit what Wentz does. He's supposed to go out there and win a few games. That's what the backup quarterback is supposed to be. A backup. A backup is supposed to come in there and win you a few games while your starter is either nursing injury, suspended, or whatever. That's what a backup is supposed to do. We have to stop moving the goddamn goalpost. Carson Wentz is the backup quarterback. He's holding the spot for JJ McCarthy until he gets healthy. And to piggyback on that shit with Kevin O'Connell, if Kevin O'Connell pulls some bullshit and keeps JJ McCarthy on the bench just to let Wentz to play, he's basically saving his own ass. There, I said it. He will basically be saving his own ass because he needs to be developing McCarthy to the fullest extent. And the only way for him to develop McCarthy is for him to actually play. So I don't care if Wentz goes out there and he wows the crowd and he's throwing 300 yards a game with 4 touchdowns. I don't care. He's the backup. Put the starter back in. He needs to develop. Moving on. All right, so Jeff Okudah looks like he'll be back this week with the concussion, full participant on Wednesday and Thursday. Justin Skol, concussion as another guy, man. I don't know what's going on, man. It's too many concussions on this injury report, man. So Justin Skol, I don't know what his concussion history is. So he might be out close to 2 games also. Harrison Smith with a undisclosed illness. He's limited. I don't think he's playing. And Van Ginkel with a concussion, limited. So it's a possibility that Van Ginkel is playing. Now, looking at this Viking injury report, we know everybody on the concussion list is not going to play. Now, when we're talking about Andrew Van Ginkel on this concussion list, I think Dallas Turner had a solid game. So there's no need to rush Van Ginkel back with the concussion. He can stay, you know, in street clothes for a little bit longer. But the one injury that is still intriguing me and we don't have a lot of information on is the injury with Harrison Smith. It just says illness. Some people are speculating it's pneumonia. He lost some weight. He's not in game shape. I don't know. But I just look at it through a different lens by saying this. If you knew that he had this undisclosed illness, it would have probably been in the best interest of the team to put him on IR. Like, for real. I just don't understand it. And that's the same thing with Darisaw. Like, if Darisaw doesn't play the first 4 games, you shouldn't just put him on IR. It makes no sense to that aspect of it. But let's keep it moving. So let's talk about this game. All right, let me bring up my notes about this game. All right. Here we get. All right. So coming into this game, we already know that the Bengals and the Vikings are starting their backup quarterbacks, right? Um, the Vikings will be starting Carson Wentz, and the Bengals will be starting Jake Browning, which is the ex-Viking. I mean, who gives a shit? I'm not really gonna buy into the revenge game and all that other stuff because both of these teams are not where they need to be, perspective coming into the season. I mean, the Bengals every year, quote unquote, people have them as a Super Bowl contender. So they need to try to win some games. I don't think Burrow's actually walking through that door no time soon this season. I think he's done for the season. So Jake Brown is that guy. And it will be interesting for Zach Taylor to see if Jack Taylor can actually get this team into the playoffs with the backup quarterback. Now, the Vikings O-line is banged up, as you saw the injury report. And Trey Hendrickson can wreck a game, basically. But I think it's going to get some quality reps for this offensive line, and it's going to actually show, Kevin O'Connell some adversity. See if he can kind of change the game plan to kind of get these Vikings in the position to win, because Vikings can't start the season 1-2, right? They just can't. They can't. Especially with the next 2 games are going to be overseas with the Steelers and the Browns. So they got to go ahead. I would say steal this game. They got to go ahead and actually steal this game. I mean, it is what it is, man. The Vikings put themselves in a situation, by not playing well, and now it's a game to where I don't think it's too early to say must win, but it's a game they should be able to take care of the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the Bengals receivers versus our secondary is to me is going to be the first real test. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I think they still are just as deadly without Joe Burrow. We saw the last time the Vikings played Cincinnati, they actually lost. And yes, that was a Flores defense. For people out there trying to skew the narrative, yes, that was a Flores defense that year. There's no excuse for that shit. But Jamar Chase is our world, and T. Higgins is a great Batman on this team, right? I mean, shit, I don't even want to disrespect T. Higgins and call him a Batman. T. Higgins is basically a number 1 on a lot of other teams. So here's the test. If Jeff Okudah's back, let's see what he's gonna do, right? Brian Murphy Jr. has been okay this season. Let's see how he can, match up against Jamar Chase. But it seems like we only talk about the receivers for Cincinnati. I think Chase Brown is that dude too, right? Like Chase Brown had a good year last year, and it would be in the Bengals' best interest to kind of lean on a running game to open up that passing game, especially in the beginning, of the game. Maybe Kevin O'Connell can take some notes from what I just said, because I think the keys to the Vikings actually winning this game is leaning on Jordan Mason, right? I know you guys didn't see Aaron Jones on the injury report, but if you don't know, Aaron Jones is gone for the next 4 weeks. He's on short-term injury reserve. So Vikings need to be leaning on Jordan Mason. All right. I'm saying he should get the ball like at least 25 times. Carson Wentz shouldn't have to drop back and go down the field no more than 30 times. Like, we got to keep it even killed game. Just get a win, move on to the next week. But here are my closing thoughts, though. All right, let's bring it up. My closing thoughts is this. Now, silver lining in this situation is this, and Jordan Addison will be back next week. I'm excited about that. I really am. If Jordan Addison can get into the rotation as soon as possible, the next game, we should be feeling pretty good about winning that one, regardless of who's at quarterback. Now, as I said before, it's just interesting game to kind of see what team is going to actually come out here and play the best with their backup quarterback. Now, in closing, if the Vikings do lose this game, I wouldn't say that this season is quote unquote lost, but it's going to be a hell of a climb if they start to struggle. I don't think they lose the locker room as of yet, but a lot of players came to this team to win a championship, and starting the season 1-2, it really ain't going in the right direction. But who knows? There's been a lot of teams start the season slow and actually, end the season on a good note. But that's all I got for y'all today. And like I said earlier in the video, you know, thank you everybody out there that's been, you know, rocking with me, that's been in my comments, giving me great ideas, great topics, encouraging me to basically, keep this whole thing going. Like, I love it, man. I love it. It inspires me to actually be way more consistent, with this whole content creating YouTube situation. Um, I'm gonna drop this video Friday morning around like 10 o'clock, whatever, so you guys will get that. But just be on the lookout that I really plan to go live on the weekend, so you guys can interact, with me live on screen about what you guys think. So, you know how I end it? Skol, baby.